Presented by UMC, this is the Morning Skate Report ahead of a historic and first of its kind Game 7, because we've had a couple of Game 7s in the VGK history, but this is the first one at home, and what a anticipation, what a nervousness, what a unknown, really, when you walk into the rink for this kind of game. Game 7 against the Minnesota Wild, against the Vegas Golden Knights. It's been a series that's swung back and forth. We'll take you out to the rink and show you via the Station Casinos rink cam the players going through their preparations and what they will go through. We'll talk a little bit about the emotion and the feelings of the athletes, and also get your questions and your comments as fans on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Send us your comments. Tell us what you're going through right now, or questions about Game 7. Daren Millard along with Mike McKenna. This is going to be unique because the environment at T-Mobile has been talked about for 4 years, but this is the first game of this kind that we've seen.
Yeah, it's interesting to think that there hasn't been a Game 7 in this type of scenario in the building, and the players are all excited about it and having fans in the building, but it's also put your head down and focus, right? Like, you've got a job at hand. You want to use the momentum of whatever crowd may be in there. We know it's going to be as big as it was the other evening, 12,000 plus. And, you look at the players on the ice now, it's a small grouping out there right now taking the skate. Some other ones getting out now, getting ready for the actual practice. But this morning's all about the team taking care of what they need to, getting your legs going. They've played so much hockey that at this point it's been nothing but rapid-fire games. They know what they need to do. It's a matter of execution once they get out there.
And one of those ones where you're trying to get past the opportunities that you've let get away. Tried to clinch it out in Game 5. Didn't happen.
Yep.
Game 6 in Minnesota. Now, sweeping in St. Paul was a tall ask, but you do win 2 of 3. Now you come home for game number 7. Is there an advantage either way when you're talking about a 2 seed versus a 3 seed, although there was a little bit of difference in the standings there?
You think about, when you look at this, it's hard to say it because you always think that in T-Mobile and the Fortress there's an advantage, and the players truly believe it. I believe it. I think it's one of the few buildings in the league that really does have that extra edge to it, but the strange part is it hasn't played out in the series, which is completely upended from what we all expected. And I think, though, that in this scenario, it's a special game. It's a Game 7. It is the chance for the team to really put their stamp on it and move on. And I think, if anything, if you're looking for momentum and energy right off the start of the game, you'd have to think that's going to factor in. But it also does for Minnesota. You feel that vibe in the building, even as a visiting club. It helps get your energy up. You feel inward how excited you are, how nervous you are, that good nervousness. It's butterflies. It's just like the fans. The fans feel the same nervousness as players. They just don't have to put the skates on. So those first couple shifts are really going to be indicative for both teams and just the overall vibe of the game.
Well, you often hear that it's almost easier for the players because they get to go out and dictate it, and the fans are left to watch and soak it all in. Jimmy, watching from Saudi Arabia. Hello. Hope you're doing great. Donna in Myrtle Beach watching this one. You talk about the impact of the Fortress. 17-10 is the record in the Stanley Cup playoffs at T-Mobile Arena. And the club has won 70% of its games during the course of the regular season at T-Mobile Arena. So those are some pretty good numbers to grab onto.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, you do have to rely on your experience with it. You know that the team has played quality games with it, but you factor in what they've done against Minnesota. And Minnesota's been able to manage the crowd pretty well. Like, they've managed T-Mobile, what it's like to play in that building. So you've got a team that's a pretty mature club, I believe, on the other side. And for the Golden Knights, with the maturity they have, you've got to bring it too, and know that the experience they have in that locker room of winning those games and just feeding on the energy. I mean, it's a good feeling to come home and sleep in your own bed. It's a good feeling to come home and have the food that you want to have. But there's also expectations, right? There's people in the stands. You want to win for them. And I think tonight's going to come down to which team is able to play the most not carefree, but the freest, to really just go out and send it and not be afraid to make mistakes.
That game in Game 6 was really just a game and a race to one goal. It was a game of one. Sierra on YouTube asks, who's the player you think could make a big difference tonight?
I think it still continues with the defense for the Golden Knights. I think Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo would fit into that mix as well, but we haven't seen the scoring from the defense. Minnesota's done such a good job of stifling the transition game of the Golden Knights that the Golden Knights haven't had that second wave on the rush, and they haven't had the sustained pressure and availability to get deep into the zone where Shea Theodore excels. Picks up the puck at the blue line, skates towards the net, dangles two guys, puts it top shelf. Haven't seen much of that because of the diligence of Minnesota in their defensive zone and the neutral. I think if you can get Shea Theodore, Pietrangelo really going, if they can find lanes to the net, it's going to take the forwards working hard to get there, and quickly. It's quickness. It's not a matter of how hard you work. It's how quickly you work. They've got to get there in a hurry, take eyes away from Talbot, because both defensemen, Theodore and Pietrangelo, they can find lanes. They're excellent at it, but they need help in front. It's a full team aspect to get them going.
Well, majority of the shots for the Vegas Golden Knights in Game 6 were from the point because that middle was so jammed. It was tough for the forwards to get the puck there. That was Minnesota's best complete game. I know Talbot had the shutout, but boy, he wasn't near as much of a factor as he was in game number 5. Vegas will try to avoid dropping 3 in a row in this series. I hope you are doing great this morning. Check in with us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch, and YouTube. Julie in St. Pete, Florida, watching today and hoping for a Vegas Golden Knights victory. This is a scenario where there's been swings in the series, and more so than others that have gone 7 games. You had the Golden Knights scoring 9 consecutive goals at one point, and having a 3-1 series lead, yet here we are playing a Game 7. You watch out on the ice, and they'll go through this morning skate. Not a full complement of players, but did you have some teammates that like to treat it like any other game, and other teammates where you could see that it was definitely handled in a different fashion?
I think some players just absolutely need that extra pressure to get going, and they feed off of it. You can see them going through the locker room, high-stepping around the place, and the way that it amplifies in what they say in the room, the added importance. And then you flip the other direction, and you have players who just go about their business. You know, you really find out a lot about the psyche of different people just as human beings when you're in a locker room. That, I mean, you can almost tell from post-game pressers, from media that some of the players have done that. You know, for example, let's go to Alec Martinez. You know, to me, he's somebody who's probably business as usual, go do what you need to. And then you flip to Jonathan Marchessault, who really thrives on the excitement of a big game, the big moment. So it's really interpersonal. It's how you find your own way to get motivated for the game. For myself, I mean, I tried to approach it all the same way. I tried to stay as even keel as I could. Figured as a goaltender that might help me. Marginally, maybe it did, but it's different from everybody.
You see, like, a smaller group today.
Yeah,
that surprise you?
Not a bit, because you know you get to this point in the series, in the season, you've played so much hockey. You know what you need to do to get ready, and I've played on teams that didn't even have morning skates, Daren. And
before a Game 7?
Before Game 7, yeah. We had that a couple of years ago in Syracuse, actually. Team Dan Duva and I were on covering.
How did that work out?
We won.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
We beat the Toronto Marlies in the second round of the Calder Cup playoffs, but that was our routine, was to not have morning skates, and you just kind of get used to it. And some players need the morning skate, though, right? If you have that option, right? We didn't have that option, but if you need it, you go out, you take what you need, right? Some guys will be out there for 5 minutes. They'll literally put their skates on, they'll make sure they feel good, they'll get a couple touches and get off. While others will like to be out there forever, touching the puck, getting little moves around the net, doing what they think is right to get everything dialed in.
Got a couple of great questions in the queue right now, including one that will and could set the tone for the entire Game 7. That's coming up as we continue to bring you the Morning Skate Report presented by UMC from Studio 31 at City National Arena.
Universal Solar Direct. Pay less for your electric.
Look at all these bills. We've got to find a way to save money somewhere.
Universal Solar.
Let's go solar.
Pay less for your electric.
Call Universal Solar Direct now to go on a power play with our exclusive offer. 0 down, 0 payments for 5 months, and 0 interest for 9 years. Invest today, save for a lifetime.
Universal Solar Direct.
Proud sponsor of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Call 702-483-6900.
Vegas Golden Knight Alex Tuck is a hero on the ice, and off the ice he's doing something even more important. He's a registered organ, eye, and tissue donor. In the United States, more than 100,000 people are waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. That's more than 5 times the capacity of the Fortress.
We all have the power to end the wait.
My son Mikey saved 8 lives and healed many more.
Learn more about Nevada Donor Network and register to be a hero at nvdonor.org.
gotta put your heart and soul into it. Give it 110%. This is what you've been working for. You gotta play like there's no tomorrow because...
Yeah, Dad. I got it.
Because this is where champions are made.
Morning Skate Report brought to you by UMC. Continuing, we take a look at the morning skate that has a medium number of players out there via the Station Casinos or Rink Cam. And a quick word from our partners at Allegiant, the official domestic airline of the Vegas Golden Knights. Low fares, non-stop flights, only at Allegiant.com. Check it out. We can hear some of what's going on through the wall overlooking the ice surface here, and there's some energy out there.
Yeah, for sure. You can hear people making noise. You can hear the puck snapping around. It's hard to describe the energy of these games in playoffs, but really Game 7s are just special. You have that pit in your stomach coming to the rink that this is it, you know? I mean, we're win or move on, or we're going home, and it's daunting in some ways, but it's also just so exciting. It makes you feel alive. And you talk to players that are out of the game, and we all miss playoffs. That's when really things really come alive, and it's for these moments of uncertainty, of vulnerability, when you just don't know what's going to happen, that you know you have to perform your best. There's no other way around it. If you don't, you're going to be going home. But that's what makes it so rewarding when you get a victory in Game 7 and move on. And you look at teams that thrive, that go deep into playoffs, a lot of times they win a Game 7 early during the course of the run, and that gives them all kinds of experience to draw on as they go forward.
We will check in with Derek Englund on nighttime at noon today, and also more continuing coverage spills over to the afternoon with the VGK Insider Show on Fox Sports Las Vegas and the VGK Radio Network. Check in with us on Facebook, on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Here's a great question that I think a lot of people ask because of the difference in where you are in the lineup. On Twitch, it comes from... just a question from Twitch, no name there. What's the thought behind starting the fourth line when the Wild have been starting Kirill Kaprizov?
Well, they're trying to gain momentum. They're trying to get the forecheck established for the Golden Knights. And when you start the fourth line, whoever may be on it, we've seen a different combination. Patrick Brown's been centering. Will Carey has been a staple on it. When Reeves has been in, he's been there. Kolasar's dropped down to do that as well. But you're trying to push Minnesota back into their defensive zone so that you can roll four lines. And the Golden Knights have done a pretty good job of that at times. I look at Game 5, first 10, 15 minutes, it was rolling lines. It was getting opportunities. And for the Golden Knights, I feel like it's a staple for them that worked really well in the bubble. That, again, if you can get all four going and you string those shifts together, that's when you start to get that wave of momentum and you start to push the other team into the mental territory of thinking, man, we're really in one against tonight, because they are just breathing down us at all times. It makes life hard on the defenseman for the other club. And that's really what it is. It's just a momentum builder. It's a set the tone type of play from head coach Pete DeBoer. You're trying to make sure you bring the physicality and the energy to the game.
It's interesting because I'm with the question. I understand the question, because during the course of the game, you probably wouldn't put out the meat grinders against Kirill Kaprizov.
Correct.
So why would you do it at the start of the game?
Yeah, well, you're looking, again, it's purely based on the Golden Knights thinking about themselves, right? If they get the puck deep, they know they can handle that matchup no problem. You've got responsible defensive players. Patrick Brown especially is a great addition to the fourth line and what he can do defensively too. But again, if you get that puck and go forward, that's what you want. You can always get a change if you have to right away. It's not always a long shift right off the bat. So sometimes all you're looking to do is get it in and get a good 20 seconds and get that change. Maybe you get that other line, the Kaprizov line, their top line, get them hemmed in, get them tired, get them on their heels. But you are exactly right. During the course of the game, you're going to want your top two lines potentially against them. You want that good matchup. But at home ice, Pete DeBoer has the availability to put out whoever he wants in that way.
Eavesdropping on the morning skate for the Vegas Golden Knights ahead of Game 7 of this first-round West Division Series. And speaking of quick changes, we had a switch out as Marc-Andre Fleury left the net for Robin Lehner. And we are watching some tip drills, some net front traffic, some ability to change the location of those shots in front of the net. So that continues to be a work in progress for the Golden Knights. On YouTube, a question from Joe. Should the Golden Knights make adjustments to their game or continue as they have been and hope for better puck luck?
Well, here's the thing. Teams make adjustments throughout the course of series, throughout the course of seasons, and sometimes we don't see them because you're not changing an entire forecheck. You're not changing an entire breakout, but you're tweaking things, and you have to read off of what you've seen from the opposition. If Minnesota's bringing 2 men hard on the forecheck, you know you may need to tweak that. Maybe you force the walls more and you need to use the center option more. Okay, so a breakout doesn't necessarily have one set play. And a play through the neutral zone in transition isn't always set, only one thing you can do. There's always secondary routes and options that are available. So it's a matter of tweaking and in your pre-scout going over those details and realize, okay, game 2 and 3, we tried to do a little bit more this way and it didn't work. So we're going to revert back to option A. You have that built into your system. It's not just head down, but it is about the Golden Knights. It's about them playing to the best of their ability. And if you take the fight to the other team, you're not on your heels. You're not playing against what they're bringing against you. You want to bring your best against them. You're conscious of both sides of the puck, but you're really worried about what you're doing with it.
15th meeting of the season between these clubs. Do you just go out and play to a lesser extent without being too complicated?
I've heard that plenty of times from coaches, that this is about us, we know what to do, just go play. It can be a varying approach. But when you're 15 times in against the season, there's not a whole lot more that you can uncover in pre-scout, in the video sessions, when you're leading up to a game. You just have to go out and trust your instincts with it. Of course, you're still going to try to find things. I mean, I think in this series especially, you're going to look towards maybe the power play is something that I would imagine the Golden Knights have clued in on, things that they'd like to do better and maybe change up. But as far as their overall system, yeah, they know how to play against Minnesota, and vice versa. The teams are very, very well educated on one another at this point. 15 games is just crazy. I mean, that's something that you used to see in, the minors, not in the NHL. And at some point, series fatigue can set in, and you have to fight through that. Game 6 felt like that. Felt like both teams were kind of just sick of it at the start, and they were backing into the game. Tonight, I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see both teams really try to push the pace right from the start.
A little freer, right?
I think so, for sure. Yeah.
Alice asking, how can the Knights switch the momentum in their favor?
I don't think that they don't have momentum. I know that sounds strange because they've lost 2 games in a row, but this is a team that's had success throughout the year. They've beaten Minnesota. They've been up 3-1 in a series, and they're still confident. And they're coming home. So you already have one momentum shift in that you're going to be in your own building. That's already on the ledger of the VGK, that they have that excitement. They have their fans, their family in the stands. Okay, like this is an aspect that's very real for players, is that when you look up in the stands after a game, and we're all guilty of this, not guilty, it's just something we do. You're looking for family, you're looking for your kids, you're looking for inspiration. Well, that's real. That was one of the best parts of my career, is when you'd win a big game and I could see my daughter in the stands with her stuffed teddy bear, Daren, and it was Leo, it was a lion actually, but she'd hold up Leo after a game, and if we won and I'd wave to her, I'm telling you, like, it's the best feeling on earth. Like, think about being a Golden Knights player with kids that you get that chance. That's the extra momentum that you can bring.
If you're watching with Leo or you're stuffy, maybe that's the comfort that you need today going into a Game 7. Send us your questions, your comments. Let us know how you're feeling. Do you have butterflies? Are you confident? Where's your emotional approach to this game? Game 7. Third time for the franchise in a decider in the first 4 years, third straight year for the Vegas Golden Knights. Fell to the San Jose Sharks, shut out the Vancouver Canucks last year in the bubble. But this is the first one at home at the Fortress for Game 7. And if you have some questions about the lineup, about some things that you've watched during the course of the series, Mike can respond to that and give you a clearer picture of what you may be able to watch for game number 7 tonight. It's an earlier face-off, a 6 o'clock start at T-Mobile Arena. And we're looking forward to the start with some jump. First periods have been not an issue, but certainly haven't been the best part of the Golden Knights game in the first 6 games.
Which is surprising given the regular season, when the Golden Knights would get out early and they'd trounce teams. They'd just get the lead, and it was like, see you later. Game's not over. You still have to work, right? But the Golden Knights were just so good at playing with the lead, getting the first period out of the way with a big advantage. And when you run into a team that's done a good job in the first, it makes life harder on you. But the second period's really been where the teams come into play. They've been better in second periods. They need the first to happen. And to counteract that against Minnesota, you've got to have your feet moving. You've got to be going right off the start. It is surprising, right? Because we're so used to during the season, man, that first period is what carried the team a lot. And listen, You can lose a game in the first period, but you can't win one. That's the old saying, and it's very true. Like, if you get down 3-0 in a first, it's lights out, it's over. It's what it feels like from a player sometimes. But if you get up to that, you still have to make sure you keep playing that well, and that's what's been impressive about the Golden Knights this year, is that they just did not relinquish that early lead very often.
I will address it. Lots of questions about Max Pacioretty and his status going into Game 7, but there's no update on that, whether or not he's going to go in. Lean on Pete DeBoer's comments the other day that he did skate.
It's encouraging.
Started skating, so that's positive. But there's also the idea of how much do you need to put him in, at what percentage, basically.
Exactly, yeah.
And this hasn't been a series with a lot of power plays. A lot of power plays, I think it's an easier decision.
I agree.
But there hasn't been that case.
Yeah, because you don't want to hide somebody on the bench. And you're not going to hide Max Pacioretty in the lineup. If he's in the lineup, he's playing, and he's going to play 15 minutes, maybe more, and play a lot of power play and heavy minutes. And that's the balance that you have to run. You have to assume that if he's been a scratch, if he's been out of the lineup, that you're probably not going to see a 100% version, but what's the acceptable amount, right? Think back to last year when Tampa Bay won the Stanley Cup. Steven Stamkos comes back into a game, played 3 minutes, scored a goal. That was very unique, okay? That you don't see that very often, and I don't think that's something that coaches look at really as an option that often. But for Pacioretty to have him and his shot and his power play, boy, it's such a bonus for the club. At what level do you need to have him in? What can he sustain? How can he play his best hockey? It's not easy to do if you haven't been there. And add in the fact that he hasn't played in a while now, right? It's hard to come back and really hit your stride right away. Playoffs are a little different. You've got some extra juice because of the entire surrounding. And he is a veteran player. It's not like he's a young guy who doesn't have this experience. But it's a fine balance. And only Max Pacioretty is going to be the one, I think, that's going to be able to make the call on where he is and if Pete DeBoer can put him back in the lineup.
Yeah, I wonder where that balance is between the medical staff, the coaching staff, and the player when it comes to a Game 7 situation.
Well, I'll give you my own perspective. Like, I pulled my groin twice in playoffs, and I wasn't coming out of the net unless I was told I can't play. And that was just myself, and I think you see that with a lot of players, and that's why at the end of playoffs we always get this laundry list of injuries that we all just go, oh my gosh, like this guy was playing with a broken foot or a broken arm, and like you just find out these things out that normal humans would not put themselves through that. But playoffs ruins everything in your mind in terms of like your own self-worth when it comes to your body. You're willing to play through anything because the prize is so high. The player really determines a lot. And there are moments where the medical staff will just flat out tell you, you can't play. You will hurt yourself. Even worse, you can't do this. I think it's largely between those two. Coaches don't get very involved with this. They don't encourage players to play very often because they have to trust the medical staff. And the medical staff and the player are really the ones who can ultimately decide if they're ready to go.
And there's the whole setback, because if you do win, if you're on the fortunate side of the result, you've got Colorado on Sunday
Correct.
To start the second round in that best-of-7 series.
Right, and you get some runway now. Obviously, if you go, it's only a couple days down the road, but it still is more days of potential recovery. And that factors in. We don't know what type of injury he's battling, so we don't know, is it something that will continue to get better? Is it a management standpoint? And you can see this around the league, that some players are just dealing with things throughout an entire season. I have an old teammate of mine in Dallas this year, Rope Hintz, who was constantly in and out. He'd play 2 games, then he'd be out. 2 out. It's just a management and what pain can be handled. Will you make it worse? Those are all factors that we don't know.
A medium group is thinning out on the morning skate before game number 7 here at Sydney National Arena. We are broadcasting from Studio 31, the morning skate report presented by UMC as you watch in over the Station Casinos rink cam, game 7 against the Minnesota Wild. Are you surprised? It's been a different route to get here, but are you surprised at all that we're in a series deciding situation?
I am, after the Golden Knights are up 3-1. I truly am, because I thought that they'd be able to close out in whatever capacity, whether it was 5 or 6. It just felt like the team had that swag to them, especially after the victory in Game 4. So, yeah, I'm surprised, but it's with the caveat of saying this is still playoffs and against a team that pushed the Golden Knights, in my eyes, harder than any other team in the Pacific Division, in the Honda West this year. Felt like Minnesota gave them the hardest minutes, despite Colorado's obvious skill and the series that they've had against one another. It seems like Minnesota's been able to stifle the Golden Knights, especially in transition and in front of the net, where other teams weren't able to. So, getting to a Game 7, I'm surprised because they were up 3-1, but I'm also not, because I know how plucky Minnesota can be, and they just don't quit. They don't die, and that's what makes playoffs fun. I'm telling you, the Golden Knights pull this series off and win in Game 7. This is going to be a huge boost for them going forward.
I'll leave you with this. Marc-Andre Fleury, this is his 8th Game 7, so plenty of experience on that side. Alex Pietrangelo won a key Game 7 on the road. He won as captain of the St. Louis Blues to win the Stanley Cup, so there's experience on that front. And then you add in that Pete DeBoer is 5-0 for his National Hockey League coaching career in Game 7s. Thanks for this. I look forward to it tonight.
Man, I'm so excited. It's best time of the year, Daren. We'll see everybody tonight on AT&T.
Morning Skate Report presented by UMC. Thanks to Station Casinos for the Rink Cam, and thanks to you for tuning in this morning. We can't wait to bring it to you tonight. Again, the VGK Radio Network on Fox Sports Las Vegas with the radio call, Dan Duva and Gary Lawless, along with Ryan Wallace. And then you have the TV side, Dave Gosher, Stormy Bonatoni, Shane Noddy, and Mike McKenna. Thanks for watching. Enjoy Game 7 from T-Mobile Arena.